Welcome to the Business Spotlight podcast. My name is Cote, and I'm your host here on the show. And today on the show, I have Ryan Hatcher, founder and CEO of Phoenix Semiconductor Corporation, as my guest. We're going to be learning about his business, his journey to business ownership, best practices that he's learned along the way, and some challenges that he's faced on his journey as well to give you that inside look to what it's like to own and operate a business. If this is your first time on our channel, be sure to like and subscribe to get notified when we drop episodes like this. Hi, Ryan. Thanks for being here. It's so great to meet you.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, before we dive into all things business, feel free to share a bit about yourself.
So Ryan Hatcher, I've been here in Austin for about 12 years. Moved here to work for Samsung Semiconductor. Worked there for a while, and then before that, I was at Lockheed Martin up in the Northeast, and before that, I was in graduate school. My background is I'm a physicist. I studied radiation effects in silicon. Uh, and then I did sort of advanced electronics development work for the defense industry at Lockheed Martin, and then for the commercial semiconductor industry over at Samsung. And then after Samsung, I did a short stint as a back at Lockheed, so it was my second time around. Did a I was the corporate technology scout for Lockheed Martin, which is uh, which is like probably the best business card ever. Um, so that was great. Did that for a couple of years. Really pivoted at that point in my career from being like a engineer, physicist to more business focused. I
Mhm.
really learned more about what it takes to get sort of a crash course in small business for one thing. Even though I was still at Lockheed, I was really working with a ton of small companies and really learned a lot from those folks and was very much inspired. Working with them, I just saw how exciting it was to, basically operate your own pirate ship on these rough seas here. So did that for a couple of years and then worked as a CTO for a British defense contractor called Ultra that was here, U.S. headquarters here in Austin, and then they were bought by private equity. And that exit allowed me to start this company, Phoenix. Now is about 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago. So yeah, and we'll talk more about Phoenix, I'm sure. But yeah, that's where some of my journey here.
Oh, wow. Well, that's an incredible journey. I love that you found something in each of those to kind of keep building and moving forward. And so
That's right.
very excited to kind of dive in deeper into the business you started. And so, you said you were working for Ultra, that British company, they got bought. So was there an aha moment? Like, what was the why behind starting your own business?
Yeah, so it really was most of it was at that second time around at Lockheed. I had come from Samsung where I had been working on the uh, sort of electronics technology 2 to 3 to maybe five, as much as 5 years out into the future. And I was very focused on that and felt as though I was going to deliver a lot of value to Lockheed. Programs being able to help guide, at a corporate level, a strategic level, where a company like Lockheed could benefit from the future tech. And when I got there, it was actually rather humbling because when I would talk to the actual programs, the folks who were responsible for the, some 1,000 programs across Lockheed, uh, every program is really a product. So F-35 or F-16 is a program, for example. And when you actually talk to the folks who are responsible for building those products, they they weren't really worried about future tech. I mean, they were, but they kind of had that under control. The pipeline of new technology was well established, and actually, I'm not going to say it was easy, but it was well understood and well calibrated. Um, what was not uh, well well managed, let's call it, and because there's no way to do it, is obsolescence. So it was really like a big surprise for me because when I got there, the biggest problems that I was seeing routinely in the electronic space was not leading edge parts, but almost like trailing edge parts. It was the parts that were being discontinued. And by the way, I went back to Lockheed right as COVID kicked off. So I started
Mm,
Lockheed 6 months before COVID. And then, of course, everyone remembers, um, you know, COVID, you couldn't get an F-150 or a microwave oven for the same reasons. There were all these, incredible supply chain shocks, especially in chips. And it
mhm,
just had this downstream impact on all these commercial products that normally you don't ever have to worry about. Well, so everyone experienced what the sort of defense experiences all the time. They're always struggling with obsolescence. So that was really it. That's really where I saw the problem and then actually came up with the idea for Phoenix, which is really what we do is we built a novel means to produce replacements for chips that have been discontinued. So if we had been in existence back in 2020, Ford could have called us up and we could have built a bunch of chips that they needed, and they wouldn't have had to park all those F-150s at the Kentucky Speedway. They would have been able to sell them. So, and so it goes with defense and med tech. Think like MRI scanners and the like,
mhm.
and infrastructure. Energy distribution, oil and gas. Here in Texas, these are all industries where the demand for semiconductors lasts a long time. Their platforms last a long time, and the
Mhm.
lifetime of a semiconductor is generally 5 to 7, maybe 10 years. And so they're constantly struggling with parts going end of life. So that was really the inspiration, and then Ultra just gave me the means to start the company myself because when they exited, there was a package and I was able financially. I've got 3 kids, one in college, so it gave me the financial freedom to start the company.
Wow, it sounds like things kind of aligned in a way that
Yes,
allowed you
ma'am.
to do that, and like even with the timing of everything during your experiences during COVID and everything. So, yeah, that is incredible. And now I am so curious to what your business is kind of working on now, or like, are you building out your team? How many team members do you currently have? And what's your company culture like?
Yeah, all great questions. So we're growing fast. Like I said, we incorporated about 2 years ago. My co-founder, so it's Ryan and then Brian from Austin and Boston. So my co-founder and uh, just he's terrific. So the two of us really started the company. I was more on the engineering side, technical side. Brian had a long and very distinguished career in on the growth side. So he ran sales. He was global head of sales for a company called Mercury Systems. Mercury, you've never heard of, I'm sure, but in the defense industry, it's one of the bigger defense suppliers, electronic suppliers. So they sell basically boxes with a bunch of electronics in them to companies like Raytheon and Lockheed and Boeing and BAE and so on. It's a tier, they call it a tier two electronic supplier. Brian knew intimately well the challenges of obsolescence. And he was a friend of a friend. And so when I went to go start the company, I was tapping into my network and I called Brian and I remember I started pitching the problem of obsolescence and he's just like, don't worry about that. You don't have to sell me
Mm-hmm.
because, he's a guy, he was head of sales. So they lost a lot of, they lost a lot of sales
Mm-hmm.
because they were suffering from obsolescence. The products they were building had chips that had gone end of life. And so, he was like, it was the bane of his existence. So he's like, you don't have to tell me about this problem. So anyway, that was how Brian and I got involved. We formed this core team. We quickly brought in just a really top operations person by the name of Norm Melnick. Um, and then really the three of us now are the core leadership team. and we raised a little bit of money with some safes. If folks are familiar with this, this is like essentially loans that will convert. That you don't pay back with cash. You pay these loans back with equity in your company
Mm.
at a future time. And so we raised a series of these convertible instruments, convertible debt, and um, that allowed us to really start to build a team and prove it out. So the first year or so, we just built a couple chips. We just built replacements for chips that were no longer available, just to prove we could do it. And then once we had proven it, then we had some early adopters, early customers. Our first real customer was Lockheed Martin. So not a little bit of nepotism here maybe, but I had some my network at Lockheed was very strong, and they had a need, and so we were able to establish a trial with Lockheed, and then deliver a part that was actually needed for a real program. And then since then we've had a couple other early wins. Um, we are now 14 full-time employees plus another half a dozen contractors. And as of, I'm delighted to share with you that as of last Friday, uh, 4 days ago, we closed our Series Seed, our seed round, which was $5.5 million, co-led by Raytheon and a company called J2 Ventures out of Boston, with Lockheed Martin on the cap table as well. Lockheed Martin was also involved in that. So we have the two largest defense contractors in the world on our cap table now. Very, very excited about that, and a lot of dry powder with which to build more chips. So yeah, that's really where we're at. Like I said, 14. I would say the the culture on the cultural front, that's culture is extraordinarily important to us. It's really funny. We came from different areas, engineering. Like I said, the three of us had, really engineering, um, uh, sort of further out, research, almost like R&D and engineering. And then Brian was growth, sales, and marketing. And then Norm, of course, is operations. So really three very different backgrounds, but we align extraordinarily tightly on what we were looking for in a culture. And it mostly has to do with the simple stuff, really. And we have a set of core values. The first core value is, the polite way of saying it is no jerks. um,
Love that.
yeah, it's like, just don't be a jerk. You want to have we've got a lovely office. We want people to come in. We want it to be a great environment.
Hmm.
And really what that really breaks down to, and these are, subsequent core values, but it's really putting the mission before your ego. A
Mm.
lot, so much as it's like, it's so much, we want everyone here to be humble and modest enough that, if look, it doesn't matter how smart you are, if your idea is not right, for this product, this customer, this solution at this time, you know you got to just be at peace with that. And I think so much of our success to date has been the um, willingness and the fact that we haven't hired any jerks.
Yeah.
That it's been a great environment to work in. I'll say the other element, the other aspect of this that's been critical, especially for startups, that I would really encourage folks to think about is, and it's an old concept. It's a very old concept, but it's an old, and for a good reason. And it's what we call the say-do ratio, which is, again, it's sort of the basis of trust. Is, here we want everyone's say-do ratio to be 1 to 1. When you say something, you do it.
Hmm.
When you really kind of call it out, and stay disciplined about it, number one, you don't bite off more than you can chew, which is
Yeah.
important, and
Yeah.
especially in a startup when there's so much to do, and everyone wants to, like, this to be successful. Everyone's highly incentivized for this to be successful, and so there really is a temptation to bite off more than you can chew, but in the end, it's destructive. because if you can't actually do what you say you're going to do, it doesn't get done. And that's absolutely disruptive, and it breaks trust with the rest of the team. So I think that's those are sort of the two, modesty or humility, mission before ego, and then the
Mm.
say do ratio. I would say really have been key for establishing the culture that we have so far.
Oh, absolutely love that. I actually wrote that down, that say-do ratio. I'm totally gonna like, I mean, that's like a great life thing to just have as a mantra in the back of your mind. Like, am I gonna actually do what I'm saying today? And yeah, I think that's huge. So it sounds like you're building something really cool, which is a great way to set the foundation, for success. Looking at the future ahead, what are some of the challenges you see as you grow? Because you're in a growth period, you're starting up. What are some of the challenges you see or maybe are facing currently?
Yes, ma'am. So, you know, not this. I think this is very common. I mean, I suspect that most companies, especially at our stage, well, probably all stages, the number one risk that I view to our long-term success is human capital.
Mhm,
We are doing something that's hard, and the quality of our people and the ability, by the way, to maintain that culture as the team grows is going to I view as very challenging. One
mhm,
of the I think another one of the lessons coming out of COVID, we're a post-COVID company, formed in 23, and one of the, we're remote. We've got folks in Boston, obviously, two in the Boston area, North Carolina, um, California, Idaho, and and um, and here in Texas, up in Fort Worth. So we are a distributed team. Most of the team is here, but we are distributed. That's a big challenge. That's a big challenge to maintain cohesiveness. Um, we 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 try to get together regularly. So folks that are out of town, we try to get them to come here. Oh, another one from Houston, by the way, we've just hired in. So he'll be driving here probably once a week, once every other week for the first for the next year or so, just to build that team in person.
mhm,
I know that hybrid work is so attractive for many reasons, but um, or remote work, but we really, I think for something like this, establishing a culture and also a high performing operation,
mhm.
having at least a reasonable amount of in person interaction, especially for those who are remote, is absolutely critical. And then being able to hire the best talent in the world. Um, Balanced off with the locality, So by the way, I'm curious. You're here in Austin as well. It's when I moved here 12 years ago. I mean, I was chomping at the bit to come to Austin because you could still buy a house for reasonable,
Yeah,
for any number of reasons. And it's funny because in the intervening 12 years, I look at the market and it's hard to buy a house,
it
that's
is.
actually in Austin proper. If you're making less than, pick a number. So actually recruiting younger engineers to move here has been challenging. I mean, the one guy I got in California, for example, I would love to get him to come here, but I was, my biggest sale was like, hey, you can come here and buy a house. And then he's like, really? Like, can I? And
Mm,
I mean, maybe out in Dripping, but or out in Bastrop, but it's kind of hard to buy in Austin proper. So that's been a challenge too, is the cost of living in Austin just
mhm.
having gone up so much.
Oh, that makes total sense, thinking about that. Well, thank you for sharing about those things and some of the things that you're facing as you grow. Now I'd like to dive into a fun part of the Q&A called our rapid fire questions, where I ask you four questions and you answer very top of mind.
Go.
Okay. All right. Question number one is, what is the key to success for you?
The blue line. So we have a framework inside our business, and it's the black line versus the blue line. So the black line is a sort of linear growth, with that's very like salesy oriented and very like knocking on doors type sales. And there's the
Mm.
blue line, which is with strategic partners. So for us to be a true venture type return where we make the type of explosive growth that would return the kind of kind of returns that these venture companies are expecting, we have to partner smartly with this with folks that can help us um, with our limited resources be exposed to many more customers. So the temptation is to be in the black line because it's you want to go out there and like make direct sales, but the smart way to do it is to be in the blue line, which is with partners. So strategic partnering, go to market. Yes.
Oh, that's a really good one. I like that you said that for sure. Number two is, what is a piece of advice you have for other business owners?
Oh my gosh! Wow. Don't hire jerks.
True.
Really, it's the reason why it's the first core value. And I
Mm,
don't care what level you are or what. If you're a hiring manager looking to establish a culture, and the other flow down principles that we talked about, the say-do ratio and the modesty and the humility. I will say this: I've been on some extraordinarily high performing teams. Um, I've been very blessed on that account. Very bright, very skilled, motivated people, and I the most important property or trait, I should say, of people that I want to work with is that they're not jerks, so that they're good people.
hmm
I would trade away 10 IQ points, for a better attitude,
hmm
a more willingness to have grace for others, for example, to have humility. It's so much. We'll get there eventually. Without those 10 IQ points, we won't get there if everyone's fighting. So
Mm,
that's the number one. That's my number one thing. Don't be tempted if you find someone who's extraordinarily talented and gifted and bright, but poison in your office. Don't do it.
yeah, that's huge advice. I love that. That's like a golden nugget of this conversation for sure.
It's a
Uh,
big one.
it is. It is. Number three is, what is it could be a book, a podcast, an article, something that has impacted you most recently.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I don't have a formal business training, and so I kind of read all the coffee table books. You're good to grade, inspired, and all that. And they're amazing. There's probably 10 that everyone should just go out and read, all the classics. The one that I read most recently that's had a big impact on the business, on my operating the business, on my running the business, is a book by Gino Wickham called Traction.
Mm,
That has had a profound effect on how I, for example, run meetings,
hmm
how I organize my time, by the way, how I establish strategic goals and then track them.
hmm
It's really had a massive impact, positive impact on, well, also on my blood pressure.
True.
Truly, it's made operating this business, which is a scary thing. A startup is a scary thing. I've got 14 people, W-2 employees I have to keep fed.
Yeah.
And it's made the management of this organization much more predictable, much more enjoyable, frankly, and productive. We've gotten more productive because of it. So yeah, highly recommend Traction by Gino Wickham. I think his website is like the Enterprise Operating System, EOS
Mm,
system for those who are familiar. A lot of free tools online there available there.
I'm taking notes. I'm adding that to my list of books for sure.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
Final question in the rapid fire is, if you could have a magic wand and rapidly change one aspect of your business for the better, what would it be?
Oh boy. Um, One aspect of the business. Oh, I had such fast answers to all your other questions. What's the one that I would change okay, I would have everyone here in Austin. I would have no remote workers. Everyone would be here. Yeah.
Oh, love that. Well, thank you for answering the rapid fire questions. Before we get to the final question of the day, how can folks get connected with you and your business online?
The easiest way is probably LinkedIn. We have a LinkedIn webpage for Phoenix Semiconductor. We have a website as well, although it's not maintained as. Um, I mean, it's the updates are less frequent, but those are probably the two best ways. Yeah, LinkedIn, um, especially going forward, we plan to have a stronger presence there.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that, Ryan. For the final question of the day, what is most inspiring to you today?
Oh, most inspiring is in today, just today.
Can be
um,
metaphorically today, or in your recent, what's been inspiring to you?
yeah, I'll tell you what's up. Yeah, so we hired three interns this summer, and yeah, this has been inspiring. These are kids in college, um, two rising juniors and one rising senior, and they have no professional experience. They've never done internships before. I mean, their technical background, computer engineering and the like, but they walked in here not knowing anything about this business, and we had this list of tasks. We're a startup, so there's like a lot of work to do, and we put together a list of pretty challenging tasks that I expected would take them the entire summer to complete, and they have cranked through them in about 4 weeks. I
What?
mean,
That's
oh,
amazing.
it's unbelievable. They've been incredibly, and just the amount of energy and the amount of like uh, creativity with which they've solved these problems. It has been inspiring. I've been thoroughly impressed. Thoroughly impressed.
Oh, I love that. That inspires me, just like it's so cool to see when people get fired up about as a business owner what you're working
And
on.
I'll just mention this, Kay, just for what it's worth. It's two of the three are female, which
Nice.
is
I
great.
love
Yeah, yeah,
that.
got some girl engineering power here, so I love it. Yeah, it's been great.
Oh, very cool. Well, Ryan, this has been such a fun conversation. Thank you for sharing a bit about what you do, about your business, and like it's really an inspiring conversation. So thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.